Ambassador Dr. Husam Zomlot is the head of the Palestinian mission to the United Kingdom and Strategic Affairs Advisor to the Palestinian President. Prior to this appointment to the UK, Dr. Zomlot served as the ambassador to the United States, head of the PLO General Delegation to the US. Together, let's all welcome Ambassador Husam Zomlot.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, friends, welcome to Bethlehem, welcome to Palestine. I hope you are enjoying some legendary Palestinian hospitality in the birthplace of Jesus Christ. I hope too that you will take to heart the central message of Christ at the checkpoint. This very important conference organized by the Right Reverend Dr. Mundar Ishaq, the pastor of the Lutheran Church in Bethlehem. Mundar is a dear friend and a powerful voice for justice. Thank you for organizing this very important conference, and thank you for inviting me. That message, that bearing witness alone is not enough in a time of genocide, I hope resonates, because we are far beyond any normal time. There is nothing normal, my friends, about more than 110,000 killed and maimed in 8 months, the majority women and children. There is nothing normal about the wholesale destruction of Gaza's civilian infrastructure, its health sector, its schools and universities, its private sector, its industry and agricultural land. We have been warning from the start that Israel's real intent is to render Gaza unlivable. We have seen this genocidal project unfold live on our screens, on your social media, even in our mainstream media, poor as mainstream coverage has been. We have heard this from Israeli leaders themselves. Indeed, the Israeli Prime Minister even invoked an Old Testament story to green light the wholesale slaughter of Palestinian men, women, and children, their crops and their livestock, when they reference the story of the Amalek. And he has been true to his word. And not just in Gaza. We have seen illegal settlements, the checkpoints and walls that litter the West Bank. And I'm sure you have seen it as you have been driving to Bethlehem and going through these awful walls and checkpoints, suffocating Palestinian towns and villages, suffocating Palestinian life. The Israeli army is operating with impunity across the occupied West Bank. Just this week, killing 12 in Jenin, including a doctor, a teacher, and at least 4 children. Illegal settlements are increasing, and settlers are running rampant, abetted by the military. Settler terrorism has displaced more than 1,000 Palestinians from the occupied West Bank, depopulating tens of villages. The Israeli government is waging a war, literally a war, against the Palestinian national institutions, withholding our money, our tax money from the Palestinian government. And the UN is warning now that the Palestinian economy and the Palestinians in the occupied territory are sinking deeper into poverty. Distinguished guests, Palestine is often referred to as the Holy Land. It is central to the 3 main monotheistic religions. It is the birthplace of Christianity, of course, a status that all Palestinians, every Palestinian, is extremely proud of. This is where Jesus was born, lived, crucified, and was resurrected. And his life is a journey through Palestine. For centuries, the 3 religions coexisted peacefully in this land. For centuries, all 3 were represented and tolerated as an inseparable part of this land. Zionism, however, and Israel, the state that it created, has broken with this tradition with an exclusionist Jewish claim to the land. I know that many people in the West misunderstand Israel as a Western-style democracy. It is not. Central to Western ideas of democracy is the concept of equality under law of all citizens, regardless of class, gender, or ethnic and religious backgrounds. And I must have added that it's not just central to Western democracies. This is our universal values. This is central to every civilization. Israel makes quite clear in its basic law that no such equality exists. I should have said in its nation-state law that no such equality exists, and that the right to exercise national self-determination in the state of Israel is unique, is exclusive to the Jewish people. It thus breaks with Western democracies, with universal values, it breaks with our human traditions. It breaks with centuries of traditions in Palestine of religious tolerance. And it contradicts what we generally understand the message of Jesus Christ to be, one of loving your neighbor as yourself, one of acceptance, and one of forgiveness. So my friends, today, and in particular in the US, religion is being instrumentalized to justify the most appalling crimes by some of the most senior politicians there. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, for instance, who has asserted that support for Israel is a biblical admonition, has also called demands for ceasefire outrageous. It is outrageous to call for an end to murderous violence. Really? Is that biblical admonition too? It gets worse. Michigan Congressman Tim Welberg in March urged Israel to nuke Gaza to get it over quickly. Mr. Welberg is a former pastor. Now correct me if I am wrong. I'm certainly no authority like Mr. Welberg. But what happened to loving your neighbor? Are we not all children of God? Nuke them? Really? More generally, US politicians have declared positions that should cause anyone to object on moral grounds. The US administration, meanwhile, wants to ignore international institutions of justice and law. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has denounced South Africa's case against Israel's genocide in Gaza at the International Court of Justice as meritless. Now, as the International Criminal Court has announced it wants to issue arrest warrants for Israeli officials suspected of war crimes, Blinken has vowed to work with Congress to impose sanctions, not on the people accused of war crimes, but on the ICC. He wants to use, and he wants you and us and everybody to ignore that Israel has imposed a famine on Gaza. He wants us to ignore that Israel has forcibly displaced 70% of the population, destroyed 70% of the housing stock, damaged or destroyed 75% of all school buildings, destroyed every university and most of the hospitals and clinics. Even before the ICC charges were announced, 12 Republican senators sent a letter to the ICC threatening prosecutors that, I quote, target Israel and we will target you, end quote, while also threatening their family members with sanctions. What is this? The Sopranos? So my distinguished audience, these are not normal times. I focus on the US because the US is the world's preeminent superpower, and it is the only country with the power to bring Israel to heel. The US could end this genocide tomorrow if it imposed sanctions and an arms embargo. The US, moreover, styles itself as the city upon the hill, an example of justice and law to the world. But the statements coming out of American politicians from the highest level are not consistent with that image. They are not consistent with any religious message. They do not exhibit any moral clarity. Still, there is hope, my friends. There is hope that the global rules-based order asserts itself with the actions of the ICJ and the ICC to hold everyone equally accountable under international law. There is hope in countries like Ireland, Spain, and Norway taking a long overdue step of recognizing the state of Palestine, the inalienable right of the Palestinian people for self-determination. There is hope in the millions upon millions who have taken to the streets across the globe in protest of this genocide and in support of Palestinian rights. There is hope in the students in the US, in the UK, and worldwide who have not been cowed by wild accusations and have remained steadfast in their convictions that law must apply equally. Take courage from the young people. They are not just kids, they are leaders, not students, but teachers of humanity and statesmanship. Along with my friend Reverend Dr. Mundhir Ishaq, I urge you not to merely bear witness. I urge you to seek the facts, search your conscience, and take a stand. Use what influence you have. Leverage your voices. Galvanize your communities. There is nothing normal about genocide, and genocide must not become normalized. This is a moral burden we all bear. This is a moment when we must all stand up and be counted. We must always have faith that whatever horror has occurred, it is never too late to seek peace, justice, and equality. And that struggle begins with ourselves and our own. Thank you.